Hey, what's up, guys? Today I want to do a video talking about neck knives. I've been using neck knives on and off since I was 9 years old. I like them sometimes, and then I get sick of them. I have problems with some of them. I've been carrying them on and off pretty much since I got into knives. And lately I've been getting back into neck knives. They definitely have their pros, and we're going to talk about it in this video. So today and lately, I've been EDCing the CRKT Spew. Now, although I like this knife quite a bit, it's not the ideal neck knife, although it's not the worst example I've ever had. Just to give you another view of it, in case you haven't seen this particular knife before. Pretty thin profile. A lot of neck knives do not have handle scales. A lot of them are skeletonized for the sheer fact that you do not want to add a lot of weight. The scales on this are very low profile. They do add quite a bit of grip and comfort. I think as far as scales go on a smaller knife, these are perfect. I would prefer the pattern, the look, the feel. This specific knife has a nice finger choil on it, and it's big enough to get a really decent grip. Obviously, it has a little thumb ramp there with some functional jimping. Really fantastic knife. As far as neck knives go, there's a lot of things to consider, and hopefully this video will help you to realize whether a neck knife may be good or bad for you as an option, as well as why or why not you may want to carry it that way. I know a lot of you guys just are completely against neck knives. There's some simple, straightforward reasoning as to why. I've heard people say, well, I don't want to stab myself in the chest if it falls out. I would say the number one consideration when thinking about a neck knife for carry, whether it's EDC or defense, whatever it may be, is the sheath retention. Okay, that should be a no-brainer, but some people don't think about that. You want your neck knife to retain very nicely in its sheath. Okay, for that simple fact, you do not want it falling out and being against your chest and or abdomen. Okay, particularly a very pointy one like this, where you can have an accident where it actually stabs you. When talking about neck carry, there's a lot of considerations, a lot of problems. Now, something to consider here too is that what I feel a neck knife is a fantastic option for a backup blade. I never would really suggest or recommend a neck knife for a primary knife in most situations. Okay, as far as an EDC situation, I definitely prefer this as a backup to a backup. I usually have multiple blades on me. I try to dedicate at least one knife specifically for a defensive option. I also try to dedicate a specific utility knife. But having a neck knife on me in certain situations is very beneficial. Using the sweatpants in that example, I showed you my sweatpants EDC. It's fantastic. I always have two knives on me. They're very close in that bag, but it's not on my person. I have been carrying on and off the folder on the waistband of the sweatpants. Still iffy. Depending on the circumstance, okay, depending on where I am, what I'm doing, I do like having a neck knife like this on me. Okay, it's easy to get to. It's always right there. I know where it is. If I need something, it's not pulling my pants down in that case where I can't wear a belt. I suppose you can wear suspenders with sweatpants. That'd be a little strange, maybe. I don't know. I never had suspenders, but I kind of always wanted suspenders. Maybe I'll try it out sometime, but not with sweatpants. But neck knives definitely have their benefits. It's another place you can store your knife. When you're like us, when I say us, I'm going to refer to most people watching this video. We're EDC people. We just love all kinds of crap. We love knives and guns and gear, and we don't want to walk around looking like a cop, okay, with a big fat belt and all this crap on it. Our holster for our flashlight, and then our gun over here, everything minus the handcuffs. All right, a lot of us are walking around like cops. We got all this crap on us. I'm not against it. Obviously, I'm for it. Obviously, I practice it quite frequently. I over-prepare and I carry more stuff than's necessary. But it comes in handy. And you guys know if you do it yourself, it comes in handy. Having a flashlight, never know when you're going to need it. Having a multi-tool, never know. Having multiple knives for different purposes, you never know. Having a gun, peace of mind. And the list goes on and on. Some things are more useful than others, but whatever you carry for a reason. Now, having a neck knife is a fantastic option because now you're freeing up this space on your waist and in your pockets, okay? It's a completely separate part where you can store something. There's definitely drawbacks to having a neck knife. One consideration that I would say I had issues with in the beginning and years ago was basically it's swinging around. You bend over, it hangs, okay? If you're jogging, running, it's bouncing, it's moving around. If you notice, I'm wearing an undershirt right now. I invested in these white shirts, these undershirts you get at like Walmart. I don't know what they call. They're nothing. They're very, very cheap. And specifically, I've also, I've learned how to dress in the winter. When I was younger, basically I wore a t-shirt and a big poofy winter jacket, and sometimes I was warm, not really. I've grown to learn that layering is what's smart to do, and that has a lot to do with just YouTube videos, survival videos and stuff like that. It's a learning process, and I would think if I was wearing a winter jacket, I'd be fine. But I am much, much warmer in 5-degree weather, having an undershirt on, having a long sleeve shirt over this, and then having a sweatshirt, a good quality sweatshirt, as opposed to having a huge winter jacket. It's all about the layering. You want to have, you're trapping this warm air in between all these different layers of material. And it's been fantastic, and it's really kept me nice and warm. But in addition to layering up for winter, because it's actually colder out, having an undershirt is a huge benefit when carrying something around the neck. Whether it's a heavy necklace swinging around, or in this case, obviously a knife, because you're preventing that swing. Okay. First of all, when you do carry a knife around the neck, most people won't want it against their skin for the simple fact that it's going to irritate your skin. You got plastic rubbing around or metal. In most cases, you have a skeletonized knife, so you basically just have this metal there. Could be cold, and it's just rubbing on you. You don't want to do that. So generally speaking, you're going to put it on top of your shirt. Now, if you're walking around like this, depending on where you live, it may raise some eyebrows. What is that, a knife around? Most people wouldn't care. If they saw it, they might not even notice. If it's small enough, they may just think it's a necklace. That's not really the biggest concern. The concern here is when you're active, when you're moving around, it's going to swing, it's going to, and the more momentum you have, if you don't have that really good retention in your sheath, you're chancing it flying out and losing it, dropping it, hurting yourself, hurting someone else. So obviously that's not a good thing. So definitely I would say a must would be layering. 2 shirts at least. You want to trap your knife in between your 2 shirts, an undershirt and an overshirt. This way it's going to minimize the movement. Very simple, also for comfort. It's also going to help, obviously, with printing. If it's on the outside, there's no worry of printing because there it is. But when you're wearing a shirt on top and you actually have it tucked in, or if you weren't opposed about having it against your skin itself, if that wasn't irritating to you, then yeah, I would always suggest tucking it in. Now you're raising another question, well, how accessible is it going to be if it's in between 2 shirts? I find that it takes all of 2 seconds to lift one shirt while basically use your dominant hand, you hold down your regular shirt, you lift up your other shirt, and it's there. And then you grab it with your dominant hand. Under a thicker sweatshirt, people always ask me about the shirt. This was a gift from someone. I've never been to Maine. I always want to go. It's one of my favorite sweatshirts. It is super comfortable. So, yes, regular sweatshirt, knife is right here. Now, with this particular sweatshirt, you would never in a million years think or know that I'm carrying a knife around my neck. So in the case that, I have regular pants on or whatever, you wouldn't even question it. Maybe us, our gear people, you might wonder, but no one, the average person wouldn't have, the slightest clue that you have a knife on you. But realistic scenario here, I need my knife. It's not really, maybe it's an emergency. Maybe I can't access my my main blade. So here we go. Here's my hands, need my knife, sweatshirt comes up, knife comes out. It's not that hard to do. It's not that cumbersome. Putting it back is a little bit harder, obviously. You have to raise your sweatshirt. I've talked about this with the review on this knife, I believe, but I always want to cant my sheath to the side so I'm not stabbing towards myself, always going away. In case for some reason you slip away from the sheath, you may cut your finger, but you're not going to cut yourself in the chest, okay, or in your abdomen. So that's pretty much it. It's not that hard. So as you can see, it's not that difficult to actually get it when it's trapped in between 2 layers of clothing. Yes, you can slip. No, it's not the ideal situation. But again, I think it's important to realize that I think it's most important to have a neck style carry for a backup blade or secondary blade. It's not going to be your primary knife for defense or for emergencies. Okay. So now that's out of the way, let's talk a little bit about some more considerations for a neck knife. Some things, again, that may persist problems. If you have a knife that's very, very heavy, it's going to be uncomfortable. Okay, obviously, yeah, it'll swing a little bit more, but it's literally going to be uncomfortable carrying around your neck, so you're not going to want to do it. It's going to dissuade you from carrying this knife. Think about duration too. If you have issues with swinging, think about the length of your actual necklace. Okay, if you have it lower, it's going to be able to swing more. Okay, you don't want to choke yourself with it, but have a nice optimal spot, maybe here. Think about again what you're wearing, how it's going to carry on your body. Everyone's different. You know how accessible it is. If you have it lower, it'll be easier to get to from the front of your shirt. But if you're not in a rush, it doesn't really matter the length. You can always pull it up from the top of your shirt, pull it out, have it accessible. This way you can take it out to use it and put it back. What I like about this one specifically is I have one of those cheap, I mean, you could probably get 100 of these for $5. These, you know, ball and chain necklace. Really, really simple. And I just customize these whatever length I want. All you gotta do is keep this one piece when you unlatch it. You know, this little connection piece. It's hard to see with the webcam. But that little piece right there, you save that. Obviously, here, let me show you. When you unsnap it to take it on and off, and obviously I have a length here where I don't want to undo this every time, so I have enough length where I can get over my head fairly easily. Of course, as soon as I say that, I hook my ears. But basically, you unsnap this and keep the side that has that piece on there, your connection piece. And on the other side, you can put this to whatever length you want and then actually just cut this off with your multi-tool, because you probably have one because you're prepared and awesome. Just use the wire cutters on the base of your pliers and just snip that off, and then you have a permanent length. You don't have to mess with it. Obviously, once you cut a section of this off, you're not going to be able to put it back on. But these things are so cheap, I would invest in, you know, like a couple dozen of them. You can get them on eBay real cheap. I'm sure there's plenty of other places too. But yeah, just consider the length of the necklace. If you tried carrying a knife on your neck and every time you bend over it's swinging everywhere, it's probably too long of a necklace, okay? Shorten it up a little bit. Bring it up to here. This is not going to swing nearly as much. Another issue you may have is if you're really active, maybe it could swing around the side, it can choke you. People will come up with all kinds of crazy scenarios where you're in a fight and someone's going to like grab it and choke you. Most necklaces, if I were to pull on this hard enough, I don't want to break this one because I don't have any more right now, it would not take a whole lot of effort, and it wouldn't even hurt me to go like that and snap this right off my neck. It's not a consideration for choking, okay? It's not piano wire. I mean, I don't know. That's just me. But yeah, pretty much it, guys. I just wanted to talk about some neck knives for a little bit. This specific knife, the CRKT Spew, little update since we're talking about it. I love this thing. It's comfortable. It's a perfect size for a neck knife. I'm giving up a little bit of weight for size and for comfort, okay? Meaning that it's a little bit heavier than some other options out there, but the finger choil, it gives me enough handle to really get a secure grip on it. I mean, I feel like I can do a lot with this knife. An acute point, although I do want to reprofile this a little bit and take some steel off the spine here to get an even sharper point. Because I mean, it looks like it's wicked pointy, but if you watch the review I did, it's actually slightly blunted from factory. So I want to take down a little bit of steel. Don't need much, about 1/4 inch from the top. Reprofile it down so you get a really, really acute point for puncturing. But I've been using this for EDC. It's great ripping open boxes real quick, cutting straps off at work. Having the scales on here, like I said, will add the weight. But in this specific example of a neck knife, it's perfect, and it's a fantastic option. There's a lot of great neck knives out there. You know, one person's going to like one, you can give it to someone else, and they're going to hate it. I would say my all-time favorite, most used neck knife, which I really regret getting rid of. I have probably 100 knives that I want back, that I've had, I loved, and I miss. And one of them on the top of my list is the Peter Atwood Skeeter. I did a review on this when I first started on YouTube. You know, it's a custom Atwood. Peter Atwood does a lot of like tools and like little pry bar slash this, that, and the other thing. He doesn't do a whole lot of edged tools, and his knives are highly collectible, highly sought after. And this was a really awesome little neck piece. And man, I miss having that thing. And that thing I know is very collectible right now. So anyway, besides that, obviously, I'm using the Spew. I've used the CRKT Minimalist for a long time. I really like that. There's a couple different blade styles to choose from. One neck knife I've actually carried for about 3 months straight and loved because it was so light and so simple. It had a nice Warncliffe blade on it. Was a CRKT Dogfish. No longer have one. You know, didn't hold an edge all that great, but, you know, just proper maintenance. I sharpened it, I think, 3 or 4 times since I've had it because I did use it a lot. Super lightweight. I mean, there's a lot of options out there, a lot of options. But people, unfortunately, they don't even really consider it. So I want to make this video to kind of raise an eyebrow, so maybe you guys can think about whether it's going to work for you or not. I go through phases with knives. Sometimes I like big knives for a while, then I like little knives, then fixed blades, then folding knives, then neck knives, and I always go back to stuff. Truly, my favorite of all the stuff I've ever tried, the most ideal for me in my situation that I prefer is a medium to large size folding knife that I keep in my front right pocket. That's the simplest way I could put it to you. That's what I like the most. That's what I've used the most in my entire life. But I've used it all. Big, small, here, there. I've had a shoulder rig. Actually, I'll show you a video in the future. There's a really nice knife. Actually, you know what? I didn't even review it, so I'm not going to tell you what it is. I'll be a little surprised. But I have that on a shoulder rig that actually hangs underneath the armpit, which is really cool. It's very like FBI-ish, kind of secret agent, kind of cool, but convenient, very convenient. It's secure, it's easy to get to. We'll talk about that in a future video, but there's a lot of different options on how to carry. I want to get into some boot knives. Winter's coming up. I have a pair of Cabela's boots, which I love. I want to invest in a really nice pair of boots I'm going to have, from years to come. And with that means some boot knives. I want a boot knife for a backup knife. I want a boot knife specifically for a last-ditch defensive option. And there's a bunch of them out there. And I've talked to this before, but I'll talk when I do the videos on boot knives in the future. But you don't have to buy expensive. Okay, it's not a utility knife. It doesn't have to hold an edge. As long as it's sharp when you get it, you're good to go. But think outside the box. Most of us out there have a folding knife clipped to our pocket. You have a whole body here. You can carry knives in a lot of different ways. All around your belt. Obviously, boot, ankle carry, shoulder rigs, either side of your arms. The small of your back. There's a lot of options out there, and sometimes people you restrict yourself. And if you're one of these people out there that carry all this crap with you all the time, it's nice to free up a little room in the pockets. So having a neck carry is something to think about. So that's all. Just wanted to talk about neck knives for a little bit. Of course, if you have any particular neck knives you really like, write them in the comments. I'm sure people are, interested now, and it's great to have different options out there. Let people know what you've used, what you like about it, what didn't you like about it. This is why we do videos here on YouTube, to learn from each other. So I'm always interested in hearing what you have to say. Anyway, thanks for watching, guys. Appreciate your time as always, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your day. Take care.